Welcome, 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 beautiful beings of light, to 30 Days of Illumination. Today is day 19. And so, welcome to this new day. I'm excited to share this topic with you. Today, we're going to be talking about why inner child healing works. And I've talked about all kinds of delicious topics during these past 19 days so far. And I hope that you've been receiving wisdom and guidance and like having aha moments in our time together so far, because my intention is to really support you in your healing journey and to support you in loving yourself more, in choosing to show up more fully in the world, in your gifts, in your light. And inner child healing is quite supportive with that as well. So my name is Sarah Shorley. I am an intuitive healer. I'm a spiritual teacher, a channel, a medicine woman. And I also work with people one-on-one and in group containers. My one-on-one work is quite profound. We go very deep and we do things like inner child healing, past life healing, and ancestral healing. And I help you break through to the next layers of your life to clear and alchemize the wounds that are there that you actually chose and came here to alchemize, even though sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And I help you break through to the other side, into more empowerment, into deeper self-love, into a lot of things that are around feminine energetics, which have to do with surrender and intuition and feeling and embodiment as well. So if you feel called and you would like some deeper support, you can check out the link in my bio or send me a private message and I'll send you the link so you can book a heart-to-heart to chat with me. So yesterday I talked also about inner child healing, and if you would like, I would invite you to go back and watch it if you haven't done so already. And I described what inner child healing is in that video and talked about what your inner child truly needs from you in order to heal. And so, yeah, go check it out if you haven't yet. I found that, the healing journey, it's continuous. We're never fully healed. And so coming to that realization and full acceptance of that is very helpful for us. And what's the most beneficial is having the tools that help support us when hardship comes up. Sorry for the bouncing. The cat is hitting the, the little stand that my computer is on. So do go back and check that out if you haven't already. I'm curious, for those that are here, how you're feeling today. If you want to share in one word or perhaps two, how you're feeling and what's present for you in your heart. And just to recap, inner child healing is about going back and reconnecting with your inner child, these parts of you that experience. Oftentimes we do it for shadow work, exploring the wounds and the traumas that we have experienced. And so it's going back and connecting with that inner child who's feeling hurt or disempowered, who's feeling rejected, who's kind of stuck in that time and space reality. Because sometimes the traumas, they keep us stuck in that time and we're not able to actually grow beyond that until we go back and give our inner child the healing and validation and love that they needed at that time. Because trauma happens when something happens to us that is too much for our nervous system to actually process in the moment. And so the beautiful thing is that as an adult, you hopefully have more capacity, or you can find support also from the outside to help you go deeper into these very uncomfortable places, to let yourself process in a safe environment so that you can finally, for once and for all, release those wounds and those traumas. So feeling anew and feeling like I need to recharge. Totally hear you. I've been feeling like that a lot lately. I have to confess, I am on a parasite and candida cleanse, and the full moon is happening in 2 days, and things get very intense, and it's quite a lot. And I've been noticing also I've been needing to slow down quite a bit in the last few days to take more time for myself. And I've put a big emphasis on going outside. And that has helped me a lot to go outside and recharge. The sun, thank goodness, is shining. So I actually just came back from a 40-minute walk outside and I feel much more vital than I did prior to that walk. So if you're needing recharging, being outside in nature can support a lot. So why does inner child healing truly work? The biggest reason it works is because it helps us get to the root cause of a particular wound that's coming up. Let's say it's a rejection wound. Some of us, unfortunately, when we were born, our parents weren't in a place to be able to actually support us. Maybe they were really struggling with money and they had a lot of fear around, bringing a new child into the world. And so even from the time we're in the womb, we can internalize these things and feel that we're not maybe fully wanted. And that can create a very deep wound that keeps playing out and playing out and playing out for us. And there's so many different wounds that can come up from such a young age, between conception and 7 years old, and they can keep impacting us consciously or subconsciously, mostly subconsciously, because the wound happened at such a young age. And it's actually not true. We feel that we're not wanted by our parents, but actually we're wanted by spirit, by God, by life. Our soul chose to be here at a certain time and be here on the planet, so we are wanted. We are intrinsically worthy and wanted. But unfortunately, that wounding can happen, and we can let it sink in so deeply that we actually believe it until we go back and heal. And you can actually even go back and heal in the womb and clear out those energies of not feeling wanted. I know when the first time that I went back into my mother's womb, my brother was sick with cancer, and my mom was very stressed out because she had my brother, another brother, and then was pregnant with me. And I just remember bawling my eyes out and snotting and everything. It was really gross. It was bad. I felt bad for the person that was holding space for me because it was so intense. I cried so much because there was a lot of pain that I could feel. And that was unprocessed inside of me because I took it on too and I absorbed it. It wasn't a happy, joyful place, understandably so. And through a lot of this work, actually, I have been able to forgive my parents in a lot of ways, that they weren't able to be there for me fully, where I held a lot of blame and resentment for much of my life. And finally, I feel in a place now they truly did the best they could. But I can only say that now because I've processed the emotions. And I'm sure there's still more. There probably is still more. But I do feel much more at peace than I ever have been with my parents, for example. So I just wanted to share with you, it's possible to get to that place. And you might not get to that place through any kind of work that you're doing with anyone else. Like with your parents, for example, they may never apologize for the things that they've harmed you, the ways that they've harmed you. They may not even acknowledge it. And so that's why doing this work is important for you and for you alone. But also, when you forgive and create that space inside of yourself, you'll see how your relationships will automatically start to heal with the other person. I've noticed, for example, a lot of growth in my mom and so much more ease in our connection and relationship because of the inner work that I've done. So it's like taking your power back and fully taking the reins of your life. And you'll see how it impacts all the areas of your life. So that's a big reason why inner child healing works. Because you're going in and you're releasing unprocessed emotions at a time now where you have the capacity to do that. And you'll see how it's going to impact everything. So doing this work lets you move and clear stuck emotions for good. And I really believe that, so I do inner child healing. I offer inner child healing. I offer past life and ancestral healing. And I really believe, and this was taught to me by my teacher, and it's still something I feel to be very true, is that it's important to start with the inner child first on your journey and not just start jumping into past lives, and especially past lives. The ancestral healing can be good also, but I think inner child healing is very important to start with because that's where the most charge is. Because some part of you, probably a big part of you, remembers it. And so that's why it's great to start with inner child healing. And the root cause of what you're experiencing might be from a past life, or it might be ancestral energy, but it's still really helpful and important to start with the inner child to release from your young self those emotions and those energies. It teaches us, this kind of work teaches us sovereignty, like being able to hold ourselves and not being codependent with others. It teaches us how to be able to meet our own needs. And that's not to say that we can meet our own needs 100%, because I don't believe that's true. Maybe 80-20, because we are social beings and we're meant to have community and we're meant to have connection, and we thrive that way as well in connection with others. we can get uplifted by others and feel, even more loved and even more supported. But the beautiful thing is to be able to do that for yourself first, so that you're not needing it from the outside so much or grasping for it. Like, I need you to show up for me this way. If you ever hear yourself saying those words with that kind of tone, it's a great invitation to start looking inside and saying, how can I meet my own needs first? How can I love myself in this way? How can I show up for myself in this way? Wow, this is a beautiful question. How can I clear it for my son? Because when I was pregnant, I had a feeling of rejection. Wow, that's a really beautiful question. So I would suggest going into a meditative state and going into your womb and saying some prayers, calling in spirit, and asking to help clear any remnants of that, because that still might exist inside of you. And you can even practice like imagining yourself having been pregnant with him, and see yourself wanting and loving him. And be in that state for as long as you can, sustaining it. You can call in your son's soul and tell him how loved he is. And I feel like, and you can imagine, like, I'm seeing golden light. Feeling that golden light in your womb as you're pregnant with him, like showering him with love. And do that, once or twice, and really feel it inside of you. And that could be something that's really powerful and potent. And just notice over the next few weeks or months or little while, if it impacts your relationship with him at all. Thank you for asking. That's so beautiful. So I have personally done a lot of inner child healing. I've had to, because as you probably know, and I've shared even in this call so far, that when I was born, my brother had cancer, and he died when I was 2 years old of leukemia, and he had been sick for 5 years. So this was very straining on my parents, who had to take care of me and my other brother still. And I'm extremely highly sensitive and feel everything. And I remember feeling, this is the story that's coming to me right now that I want to share with you, because it's been very present recently, and this is just a recent healing that I've done. I've been brought back several times into memories of being in the crib, especially when I've been on implant medicine journeys. And this deep trigger coming up of feeling unsafe. And my mom told me that I used to sleep all day, and actually she'd be worried about me because I was sleeping so much. And when I've gone back in, it's because, when I connect with my inner child, it's because she didn't want to be more of a burden to my parents. So I would sleep all day. And on top of that, I was feeling so much emotion that it was too much on my little body to hold. And so I was exhausted. But this feeling of fear in the crib came up several times. And I was in a training a few months ago, and someone wanted to hold space for me. And as soon as she offered, I had this feeling like, oh no, I really don't want this. And we sat down together, and the first thing she said to me, she's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And she was about to hold space for me. And I instantly felt, the cat. I instantly felt triggered from that. And I was like, oh my God, I don't feel safe right now. Because a lot of, my caregivers in that time, they weren't in the place where they could actually hold me in a safe way either, because they had so much to deal with on their own, right? And to hold space for this little baby who's very sensitive was probably a really big challenge. And so the healing starts happening in this workshop, this class that I'm in. And I was telling her I felt scared, and she was trying to force me to rush and to heal. And I got so triggered, and thank goodness my teacher was there, because one of my teachers, who's an awesome teacher, he was like, okay, I can feel Sarah, Sarah's really needing help right now. And he's like, Sarah, what do you need? And he's like, would you like a blanket on you? And I was like, yes, I would like a blanket. And so we put this blanket on me, and it was so intense. I started bawling my eyes out like a baby. And I realized very quickly, I was like, this feels like my 1-year-old inner child. She's terrified right now. It was fully my inner child who was reacting to this circumstance and didn't feel safe. It wasn't like grown-up Sarah, who can hold herself very well usually and hold others like really deeply. It was my 1-year-old child who got so triggered and felt so unsafe. And this person who was supposed to be holding space for me in a way that I didn't feel safe, like, she wasn't reading my cues, and she was trying to force me and push me. And the beautiful thing in this experience is I got to release some very deep old fear. And the other aspect of it was that I actually was able to vocalize to her that she was scaring me and that I didn't feel safe. And I was able to vocalize, like, and just speak my boundaries in that moment. Because there was one moment where she was coming really close to me and I could feel her energy was coming into my body. And I'm sure that happened so much as a child. And I couldn't say anything as a baby. So my boundaries just kept getting broken, right? And then I'd have fear to speak my boundaries. And so in this case, I actually said, "You're scaring me. You're too close to me right now." And so she backed off. And it was really powerful because after we were sitting in a circle and I was still feeling very vulnerable, and she said to me, "I noticed that you help other people a lot. Maybe you have difficulty receiving and that's why you were getting triggered." And I was like, "No, I actually don't." I was like, "I actually have space held for me all the time by people. And you can ask my teacher, you can ask my friend who's here right next to me. She's held space for me and I allow it and I'm open to receiving." But I said it was that I didn't feel safe with you the way you were doing it. And so it felt really good to be able to just speak the truth in that moment and to voice that. And so I think that was extra healing for me. And then something else that happened in another circumstance in that same training where I also got triggered and I was able to speak my truth right away. So there's healing in that. Sometimes the healing happens in the moment, in the action steps we take, in actually implementing the things into our life by speaking up or by doing something differently, by making a different choice. That's how the healing can happen. So even though it was extremely uncomfortable and I felt very vulnerable actually for the rest of the day, like even in the moment, I knew this is here to support me, even though it feels very uncomfortable. And then it's teaching me to speak up sooner and to have space held to ask for what I want in the moment when someone's holding space for me, or perhaps even next time say no. Right? So yeah, let me know how that lands for you. And if there's any, if you've ever had any experiences like that, or what's coming up for you as you listen to this story. So other things that I have witnessed in inner child healing, and like I said, I've done a ton on my own, but I've also done so much for other people. And I've seen so many different types of energies that we can work with the inner child. So for example, if your parents were very strict with you when you were potty training and they were very hard on you and they shamed you, that can lead us to being really uptight and really anal, or perfectionists in our adulthood. Also, something that I've witnessed quite frequently that's really cool and that really help, like and it kind of shows why inner child healing is so helpful and why it really works, is that we can cut cords with our parents that leave us needing their validation as adults. So I'm curious for you if you notice, oh, I want to do this, but I think my mom would disapprove of me, or my parents will reject me, or I'm doing this because I want my dad to love me, or whatever it is. It can be because you might still have cords connected to your parents that were established very young in your life. And I've seen so many of my clients blossom after releasing these cords. Blossom into, themselves as light workers and doing their work in the world, blossom into their own independence and being able to make choices for themselves and to live the life that they actually truly want to live. That's like incredibly beautiful. Because as adults, like, we really don't need our parents' validation. As a child, there are certain things that we do because we actually kind of do need our parents to like love us and validate us, because otherwise, we might not receive their care anymore, like physical care, right? We might get in trouble, and we do need them and depend on them in certain ways. So, yeah, that's why as adults, it's really good to do this work around validation. And that's awesome that you don't have any issues with that. Beautiful. But maybe the inner child wounds are impacting you in different ways. Maybe around feeling worthy, or around trusting yourself. That's a big one that so many of us struggle with, because we are sometimes told by our parents, like, who are you to know that? You're just a kid. And we get these messages repeated and repeated to us. Or maybe we're told things around money as well, like, oh, like, I can't think of an example, but like we're given all these messages around money and around wealth and around worthiness and all kinds of things in our childhood that we kind of internalize and that stay with us and keep us blocked in our adulthood. So a really cool story too that I wanted to share is that I worked with one of my male clients, and when he was young, his parents left him quite often and they didn't really like care for him at all the way he needed. And he had a lot of repressed pain about that. And so he had a lot of blockage in his throat as well. And when we first started connecting with his inner child like was pushing him away because he had lost trust. And I shared that yesterday. I also had that the first time I connected with my inner child. Our inner child can lose trust with us, so they push us away. It's like, you're not safe either. And so as we worked with his inner child, we encouraged him, we helped him open, and we encouraged him to feel the anger that he was feeling, to let go of the frustration, and to help open him by, connecting and helping him like with what he needed in the moment. And then we also cleared some cords with his father. It was this longing that he still had for his father, and his father couldn't be there for him. And even still in his adulthood, cannot be there for him the way he would like. So this cord of longing was creating pain for him. And so we cleared that from his solar plexus. And then we did all kinds of different work, but the biggest piece was around really trusting himself. So his inner child trusting his grown self, to trust. That was huge. And then I heard from my client afterwards, like within a couple weeks, he actually left his job that was not working well for him at all, that he was really actually very unhappy in. And he's now pursuing a passion project. He's pursuing it full force. It's such a beautiful project. I'm not going to share because that'll give away who I'm talking about, or it could give away who I'm talking about. But I'm so proud of him because now he believes in himself more fully, and he's following through on his work rather than working for someone else, and really trusting and believing in himself. So that was stunning, and I was so grateful to hear, because he said to me, like, I feel like our work helped me do this, to believe in myself. And I was like, wow, yay, celebration. I also worked with another client who is black-skinned, and she was told some comments. I was sad because I didn't write it down. Usually I take notes in my sessions, and that time I didn't write down what she had been told, but she had internalized some messaging from her own mother around the fact that she was dark-skinned and that there was something wrong with her. And she didn't consciously remember that she had gotten that message. But we went back with her inner child, and her inner child felt like there was something wrong with her for having the skin color that she had. And she also realized she didn't really connect very much with Black culture, but she was dark-skinned and didn't connect fully with white culture or any other cultures either. So she just felt like this feeling of not belonging and feeling like there was something wrong with her. And so we went in and cleared that belief and helped her inner child heal. And that was like super, super, super beautiful to witness. And now, like, to be able to fully love and accept herself even more. So this is the power of inner child healing. We can go back to things that we're not fully conscious of and bring healing to them. That's going to make lasting impact in our lives. So those are the stories I wanted to share with you today. I would encourage you to do a little bit of exploration of your childhood. Maybe do some free journaling around, what was my childhood like? Was it happy? Did I feel supported? What was my family's relationship with money? Was I encouraged? I think this is a big one. Was I encouraged to follow what I was passionate about? Or was I told messages that discouraged me and put me down? Inner child healing is so powerful. And I hope, like, it's truly my wish that all of us have the opportunity to do this work. And if you do have the opportunity, just remember it, like, knowing that it's a privilege to be able to have the capacity to do that. To be able to have the capacity to do your inner work is a privilege. There are a lot of people who are really worried and can only focus on meeting their physical needs. But if you're in a place to do this deeper work, like, that's a beautiful gift that you have. And it helps you expand yourself. It helps you keep growing and finding ways to forgive and let go of the past so that you can really keep stepping into the life that's actually meant for you. So I hope that this talk was supportive for you today about inner child healing, and that you maybe resonated with some of the stories that I shared, or that they give you a little spark of inspiration to keep exploring your childhood. And knowing, when a block or a trigger comes up for you, you can ask yourself, is there anything from my childhood that I'm aware of right now that might contribute to this? And the key is really letting yourself go back and feel, because feeling is healing. We need to actually go. It's not enough to just know about it mentally, but to actually go back and process the energies and the emotions. So if you'd like support with that, you can reach out. I do offer this in 3 or 6 month containers, and they will be powerful and transformative. I am personally clairsentient and claircognizant, so I feel very strongly in my body, and it's this clear knowing that I have, that where I can help direct you into the feelings and the sensations and help you move through them and process them. So the link is in my bio. If you'd like to connect for a heart-to-heart call, you can send me a DM or check out my website, sarahshirley.com. And tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to you about understanding why you've been through hardship. So it's shining a light on hardship and why we go through it in our lives. So I hope you'll join me, and I would love to hear any feedback or comments that you have on today's discussion in the chat. Sending you so much love, and I hope you have a really beautiful day. Bye, everyone.